This is Sightless, my new classic fresh character that is restricted to using no add-ons and zero guides. I'm playing a faction and class I know nothing about. This is Going Blind. In the last episode, we spent around 5 hours completing a level 13 quest, but we did manage to get some solid levels in the process. We finished questing in Silverpine Forest at level 17, but now it's finally time to leave my hometown of Tirisfal and venture out into the world. It was time to head to the Barrens, so I hearthstoned over to Orgrimmar where I picked up my first profession. I decided to go with enchanting. I know it's probably better to go with 2 gathering professions whilst leveling, but I find enchanting to be the best, as it allows me to gain gold from being a terrible human being, because with it I can now just ninja loot unwanted items in dungeons, disenchant them, and sell the materials on the auction house, making a profit. No, I'm joking. I'd never do that. I would never do that. With my profession now picked up, it's finally time to head to the Barrens. This is the Barrens, and it's this place is a shithole. It's not a good place to be at all. I honestly believe the developers developed this zone and the quest in it in less time than people actually spend questing here. This zone just felt like a complete mess. Low level zones and questing hubs in World of Warcraft usually follow a similar pattern. You go to a town, pick up a few quests, you complete them quests somewhat nearby, and then you will receive another quest that sends you to another questing hub in the same zone. But when they developed this place, they was like, fuck that, let's make this place the worst place possible. The Barrens has you running all over the place for the fun of it. Oh, and whilst you're doing that, you run into other questing hubs like Ratchet and Camp whatever the fuck this says, and if that wasn't annoying enough, go to Thunderbluff. 10 times please. I'm not sure what this place feels like with Questy, but without it, it is a total mess. You have quests all over the place. It's like a spider's web that's had shit thrown at it repeatedly and then burned down. It's almost impossible to edit this part of the journey and make it entertaining, as I just ran round like a headless chicken killing things. It felt just like a walking simulator. None of the quests were particularly interesting or hard to find, other than this quest, which I never actually ended up completing because where the fuck is his wife? I honestly believe to this day, not one person has ever found his wife. I did have trouble with one more quest, and it was a quest that wanted me to kill harpies, which were located in the northwest of the Barrens, and I did know that, as I have now learned to read the quest log, but reading the quest log doesn't stop me from being a complete moron, as I mixed up the directions and spent around 30 minutes searching the northeastern part of the map. Right, I am not getting any further north. Oh my god. This is northeast? This is northeast? What am I doing? Oh my god. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I do not know what to say. I need to go back to school. Anyway, I slowly made my way through the quest and dinged level 20, which is a very important level as it unlocked a new row in my talent tree. This is the first time I genuinely struggled to make a decision. My options for this row were improved overpower, anger management, and deep wounds. All 3 of these sounded good to me, but improved overpower seemed to be the weakest for now, so I was left with deep wounds and anger management. I decided to put my first point into anger management, as it increases the time required for my rage to decay outside of combat, and then I would start to put my points into deep wounds afterwards. Also, with level 20, I was also excited to go back to the warrior trainer, as level 20 is usually a big power spike for most classes, so I made my way back to the warrior trainer, where I wasn't disappointed, as I could now learn cleave, retaliation, a new rank of rend, and dual wield. I picked up everything apart from dual wield, as it just seemed like a waste of money for now, as I don't see myself using 2 one-handed weapons, not anytime soon anyway. However, cleave was big for me, as this now allowed me to tank somewhat effectively, as I can now hit 2 targets at once, and retaliation is good. Once every 30 minutes, I'm still confused why this has such a long cooldown. Now that I had cleave, I was excited to try it out, so I queued myself up for Wailing Caverns as a tank, as I had also picked up some new quests for this dungeon whilst questing in the Barrens. Whilst filling the group, I started to fix my action bars ready for tanking, where I soon realised I couldn't use charge in defensive stance, and I figured this is the stance I wanted to be in the majority of the time, so I attempted to make my first macro. What I initially wanted my macro to do is this. When I press my charge keybind, it would switch to battle stance, then charge at the enemy, and then switch back to defensive stance. So I tried this macro, and it worked, kinda. It did change my stance to battle stance, and charged at the enemy, but it never swapped back to defensive stance. I don't even know if it's possible to make it swap back, as my macro knowledge is very limited. The only macro I know how to type out is /cast and then whatever the ability is. So this is going to be the best I'm ever going to get. But as this is low level tanking, I'm not so worried about it yet. If macros become a problem later on, maybe I can use one of my lifelines on it. It was also nice to finally put my tactical mastery talent to use, as I had put 5 points into this thing, and this is the first time I was seeing any benefit from it. So with my new abilities, talents and macros to hand, I walked into Wailing Caverns. I was feeling powerful, and with my fellow adventurers right behind me, I was ready to slaughter anything that stepped in my path. We died on the first part that was more than 2 mobs, but we brushed ourselves off and continued, and the rest of the journey went pretty smoothly. I got level 21 and I managed to complete 2 of my quests, and one of them gave me a choice of 2 weapons, and I was excited for an upgrade. These were the 2 choices of weapons. My brain instantly went to pick the one-handed weapon, as, well, I'm a warrior and the other one is a staff. I thought I'd check it out just in case, and saw that the DPS on this thing was insanely better than any other weapon I had seen so far. So I sat and pondered at the quest giver for a while, trying to think if I have ever seen another warrior using a staff before. I was pretty sure I hadn't, but thought I may as well give it a try, as all I care about is weapon damage. So I picked it up and learned stave, which luckily could be trained right here in Thunderbluff. I then proceeded to disenchant all of the green items I had stole. Whoa, stop telling them, keep it quiet. I definitely didn't steal them, but I couldn't sell the materials yet, as whilst leveling in the Barrens, I found myself the Beast Slayer enchant, which requires level 90 enchanting to learn, so I'll be slowly leveling up my enchanting whilst I quest. I was now level 21, and I had completed most of the quest in the Barrens, and the only ones I had left wanted me to head to Stonetalon Mountains. And I was really excited to go here. I just wanted to be anywhere else other than the Barrens. The 3 quests I had in Stonetalon Mountains were this. I needed to find deep moss spider eggs which were in a place called Windshear Crag. Also in the same area, I needed to speak to Ziz Physics. And lastly, I needed to hand a letter to Jin Zil, who was in a cave in Malaka Jin. So I made my way over there, and as I got close to the entrance, there were 2 NPCs with available quests. But one of them wanted me to kill mobs that didn't even give me XP, so I abandoned it. But the other one also wanted me to go to the Windshear Crag, so I accepted it. I then made my way further into Stonetalon Mountains, whilst keeping a lookout for a signpost that would point me in the right direction. Yeah, signposts have actually become a vital thing for me, and I love coming across them now. Whilst looking out for a signpost, I came across a wanted poster that gave me a quest called Arachnophobia, which happens to be my biggest phobia. Why the fuck do they need to know that? Right next to the wanted poster was a small path that led into the mountains, and the trees were covered in spiders' webs. The quest wanted me to kill a spider called Besseleth, and I needed to retrieve her fang and turn it into a place called Some Rock Retreat. Despite my phobia, I found this little zone to be really cool and immersive, something I feel the Horde quests have been lacking. I made my way through the nest, clearing the small spiders in the process. I figured Besseleth would be the queen of the nest, whilst in the main part, there were other players killing the spiders, so I asked them if they were on the same quest and grouped up with them. Whilst waiting for Besseleth to spawn, I noticed that there were eggs that I could collect, and they happened to be for a quest I was currently on. So I looted them all until Besseleth respawned. We quickly killed her as she wasn't really a challenge for a party of 4. After this, I made my way to the closest cavern, which happened to be Windshear Crag. I now had 2 quests left in this area. I needed to speak to Ziz Physics and to kill the logger NPCs which were dotted throughout the zone. I also noticed that there was a cave icon on the map in the northeast, and I needed to speak to Jin Zil, god these names are shit, who apparently is in a cave somewhere, and I was hoping it was going to be this cave. So I made my way over, killing any mobs on the way, and as I inched closer, I hoped either Jin Zil or Ziz Physics was going to be in this cave, but of course, none of them were. So I made my way back out and searched the rest of the zone. I checked all of the important looking places, hoping I would find Ziz Physics, but all I came across was an endless amount of mobs, so I wandered around for about 15 minutes but I had no luck finding him. So I decided fuck it, I'll just head to Some Rock Retreat, turn in my wanted quest and hope there will be some more available quests. But on my way out, I saw a little building tucked into a corner. right near the entrance of the zone. And there he was. This little green dickhead had been stood right near the entrance of the zone this whole time. I turned in my quest and he gave me another one to retrieve the blueprints for the Reaper 6000! And it was dropped by the operator mobs, which I had spotted whilst looking for him. And they were all positioned around what I presumed to be the Reaper 6000! It only took me a few kills until I got my blueprint. I then returned it back to him, and he gave me another quest to return back to the Barrens. I was so pissed off with this, like I've just got here, and now all of a sudden I'm going back to the Barrens. Anyway, the quest got me level 22, so I put my second point into Deep Wounds. I then head over to some rock retreat and turn my wanted quest in, and this zone did have a few available quests. However, they were all orange quests, so I had a feeling I shouldn't be here yet. And I figured the further I go into Stonetalon Mountains, the level of the quest would get higher and higher. And not wanting to go back to the Barrens, I decided to queue up for Shadowfang Keep, as I really, and I really do mean really, didn't want to go back to the Barrens yet. I got myself a group and quickly filled it up, but I didn't want to leave Stonetalon Mountains before finding a flight path, and I was sure there had to be one somewhere. So I left some rock retreat and made my way to the furthest cavern. And yes, I know before you say it, I know, this is future me now, and whilst editing this, I noticed I was stood right next to the fucking flight path at some rock retreat. Anyway, I finally made it to the furthest cavern, but all of my party members were already at Shadowfang Keep, and not wanting to be kicked from the group, I hearthstoned over to Orgrimmar and made my way over to Shadowfang Keep, which turned out to be one of the most awkward journeys I have ever made, as the party was already at the dungeon before I even began to hearthstone, and then I missed the Zeppelin, and it took around 20 minutes for me to arrive. 20 minutes of running in silence, knowing the rest of the party was seething with anger with how slow I was being. I finally arrived and the group shared some dungeon quests with me. We killed the first boss, which dropped a really nice ring for me, but I lost it to the rogue. Luckily the run was pretty quick and went pretty smooth, and I managed to complete all of our quests. But now the time had come. I needed to return back to this god-awful zone. I'm so sorry if anybody likes this place, but it's shit. It is shit. I delayed my return to the Barrens a little further by leveling up my enchanting in town. I noticed I could make greater magic wands, which was perfect, as they were guaranteed to give me a level, and they sold for around 17 silver, so I made a bunch of them and put them all on the auction house. I was also now level 91 enchanting, so I learnt my Beast Slayer recipe, but I now didn't have the materials to enchant my weapon with it. With this though, I had now unfortunately ran out of distractions and had no other choice but to return to the Barrens. I turned in my quest from Stonetalon Mountains and picked up 2 quests that wanted me to kill quillboars. They were both easy to find and complete, which I was really happy about. One of them was made even easier as I found some bots, who were all mages around level 20 and killing the mobs I needed. So I invited them all and they pretty much completed the quest for me. I have no idea what these bots are doing here, cause surely they can't be making much money from these mobs. I also managed to find myself some green drops which gave me enough materials to enchant my weapon. Let's give myself Beast Slayer. Yes. Oh, this is so cool, like give me, oh look at that red glow, there we go. Oh, I feel proud of myself for doing that. Like finding my own enchant recipe and then getting the mats for it and everything, that's really cool. I turned in my quest and dinged level 23 and put my final point into Deep Wounds, which now means every time I critically hit, the target bleeds for around 60% of my weapon damage. With these 2 quests completed, I was now finally done with the Barrens. Thank the fucking Lord! I will never return back to this zone. The only problem now though, I had no idea where the hell I was supposed to be questing. I knew I could return to Stonetalon Mountain, but the quests there were higher level, so it didn't seem like the right option for me. And just as I was feeling lost, I then remembered I can tank, and I can quickly find myself groups. So I decided to run Shadowfang Keep 2 more times until I leveled, which I almost did, but I died on the last boss and didn't receive any XP. Oh, I'm not gonna get it now because I fucking died. Oh, I didn't think, I was just gonna pot as well, what a dickhead. So I killed some murlocs outside and got myself the level, which now meant I had another tough choice with my talents. My talents now looked like this. I had spent 4 points in the 3rd row, and I needed to spend 1 more point to unlock the next one. And my choices were this: putting 1 point into improved charge, or start putting my points into improved overpower. Improved overpower increases its critical strike chance by 25%, and then 50% with 2 points, which synergizes really well with Deep Wounds. This is where I feel like I made my first mistake with my talents, as I decided to go with improved charge, as overpower only procs when the target dodges one of my attacks, and at the time it hardly ever procced. I don't really know what I was thinking when I was doing this. I just wanted more rage, as this is something I was struggling with, but looking back now, I think it was an obvious choice to go with improved overpower, but that's something we are going to have to deal with until later on, as I won't be respecing until I have my level 40 mount. I then made my way over to the warrior trainer over in Undersitter, where I was pleasantly surprised and shocked at the same time. Oh my shit, I am not buying all of these. So obviously I want that. Why is it 54 silver? 72? Execute. Oh my god, we've got execute. That is actually big. I decided to only pick up 3 of the abilities, a new rank of heroic strike, intimidating shout, and execute. I left the rest as they didn't seem worth spending my money on right now. Also, I'm a bit of a goblin. I now had to decide where to quest next. This is where an add-on called Leatrix Maps would come in really handy, as it tells you the level bracket of each zone when you hover over them on the map. But I don't have that luxury, so I decided to open my map and look at the surrounding zones of the areas I've already quested in. And that's when I noticed this place, Hillsbrad Foothills. I was uncertain if I was the right level for this, as on the Alliance side, you don't come to this area until you're around level 28, but I figured I may as well just go exploring, as that's what this challenge is all about. So I made my way over to Hillsbrad Foothills, and as I entered the zone, there was an NPC with an available quest, who wanted me to travel to Torren Mill. And let me just say, this place was a breath of fresh air. Unlike the rest of the zones that I have been to so far, it felt like the devs actually put in some effort with this one. The quest made sense and followed a linear path. Hillsbrad has 4 main zones the quest sends you to: Durnhold Keep, Hillsbrad Fields, Azalord Mine, and finally Dunga Rock. And you picked up all of the quests from the main quest hub, Torren Mill. This is easily one of the best designed zones and questing experiences I've ever had in Classic WoW, and I'm so glad I got to experience it for the first time without any add-ons or guides. There were also some loot quests that wanted you to kill bears, spiders and lions, which were positioned all over the zone, which was super nice as they acted like passive quests you could complete whilst walking between your main ones. The quest I decided to do first was over in Durnhold Keep, which wanted me to kill syndicate rogues and watchmen, and to rescue 2 imprisoned orcs. I quickly found the location by, you guessed it, checking a signpost. God, I love those things. Durnhold Keep is basically a prison for orcs that's surrounded by human NPCs, and I had to fight my way through the mobs to these wooden structures, where I found my first NPC. And when I spoke to him, he informed me that someone named Eston carried the key that would free him, who had literally just been killed as I read this sentence. So I killed the surrounding mobs and checked the other wooden structures for the second NPC whilst I waited. I didn't find the second NPC, but luckily Eston the jailer didn't take long to spawn. I made quick work of him and freed our first orc. The second NPC I needed to free didn't seem to be in the lower level where the first orc was, so I went to the upper level and there he was. I tried to free him with the same key, but it didn't work. This time I needed to take down an NPC called Malgan. He wasn't too hard to find as he was located very close by. I took him down and then freed our second orc, and with this quest out of the way, I could now start working on the quest Battle for Hillsbrad, which turned out to be a quest chain throughout the zone, which turned your character into a murdering lunatic. For the first step, I needed to go to Hillsbrad Fields, which was in the western part of the zone. However, I didn't know this yet, so as I was making my way west, I decided to check out what was on top of the mountains, and died. Because apparently, this part of the zone is classed as Altering Mountains, even though in my opinion, it's definitely in the same zone, and there's level 32 mobs here. But even though I died, whilst trying to escape, I discovered Hillsbrad Fields, so I could now see on the map where the fields were. I returned to my body, and made my way to the fields. The Hillsbrad Fields seemed to be a human settlement, almost like a little village. My first task was to kill 6 farmers, 6 farmhands, Farmer Ray and Farmer Getz. I honestly felt quite bad doing this. This place was a lovely bustling village, somewhere I would like to live in real life. And here I am, just murdering them because some weirdo with wings said so. And whilst doing this quest, I realised I was now starting to enjoy the combat of the warrior a little bit more. Most of this is down to using execute, as it just feels so satisfying to use. I made quick work of the lovely village folk and made my way back to the town whilst killing bears and lions on the way. And I managed to complete the bear and spider quest. I turned in my bear meat and spider ichor to this creep, who created an elixir with it and wanted me to use it on this defenceless frog, and it died. I then turned in the Battle for Hillsbrad, and I was given the second part of the chain. Now that I had removed their livestock by killing the farmers, I now needed to return to kill the poor peasants. I was also given a quest that read, whilst you're off having all the fun slaying humans, pillaging the town and terrorising innocent people, you may as well collect their skulls and return them to me. Oh, and I want 30 of them. So yeah, these quests are absolutely brutal and I love it. I made my way back to the fields to kill the peasants, which was honestly more fun than I thought it would be. So yeah, this guy's right. It was fun. I killed some more lions on the way back and completed the Elixir of Pain. I was then given 2 more quests, step 3 of the battle for Hillsbrad and the second step of the Elixir of Pain, which wanted me to, remember how we killed Farmer Ray? Yeah, we now had to go back and kill his pet dog, named Stanley. I told you these quests turn your character into quite possibly one of the worst people to ever exist. But I mean, they're good XP, so what's a man gonna do? Now that we have removed their livestock and killed their poorest citizens, step 3 of the quest wanted me to stop their armour and weapon supply. I had also just levelled up to level 25, which meant I now had a new role in my talent tree. My choices were two-handed weapon specialisation and impale. Impale sounded really good as it made my critical strike do more damage, which is always fun. But two-handed weapon specialisation straight up increased my damage with two-handed weapons, so this is the talent I chose. Before returning back to the fields, I thought I would have a quick break from questing as I could now do Blackfathom Deeps, and I thought it would be fun. And I was wrong. So wrong. It took me 30 minutes to even get to the dungeon, but I did manage to pick up a quest on the way thanks to the other warrior in our group showing me where I picked it up from. The other 3 people in our group waited the full 30 minutes without saying anything, which should have been the first red flag. The dungeon started off fine, but I did notice that the group was incredibly slow. There was a full minute or 2 between every pack, and at one point I died because 2 people, including the healer, decided it was a 2-man job to loot an armor crate. I mean, what the fuck are you both doing? Honestly, what are you doing? Were they both fucking looting an armor crate then? The pair of them. With my patience wearing very thin, I started pulling the packs for them. We eventually reached the last part of the dungeon, where I stupidly asked if they would like to kill the extra boss. And whilst we were killing it, the tank of the dungeon decided he shouldn't participate in this fight, and instead he should leave us to go find a quest item and then ping the map repeatedly so we all knew where it was. He then proceeded to stand there whilst we all died. I finished the dungeon, left the group and turned in my quest. In total, this entire process took me 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours for Blackfathom Deeps. Anyway, let's get back to the fields and finish off our slaughter of innocent people. I returned back to the fields, turned a wolf into a bigger wolf and then killed it, and then murdered the blacksmiths and stole their supplies. Whilst there, I also thought it would be a good idea to start a quest I had since I first arrived, which was simply titled Dangerous, which wanted me to kill important people amongst the settlement. 3 of them were easy to find as they were in the same zone I had been this whole time, so I grouped up with some people and quickly took them down. I then had 1 person left to kill, Miner Hackett. I searched around the village for a while trying to find him, but I never did. But then I had a brainwave. I figured he must be near mine. Because, he's called Miner Hackett. Jesus Christ, this guy's a genius. So I searched the surrounding areas where I came across as a Lord Mine. I found myself a full group and we stood and waited for him to spawn. We waited around 10 minutes until we realised that he had multiple spawn locations, and whilst us 5 Muppets were all stood in the same area, he had just been killed by a solo adventurer. So we decided to spread out around the cave until one of us spotted him, which took another 10 minutes. I then returned back to town where I was rewarded with level 26 and my first ever head slot, which made me look like a bit of a dick, but that is peak classic and I fucking love it. But now it was time to take down the leader of the Hillsbrad people, so I returned back to the fields for the last time, and quickly realised that Magistrate Burnside was level 30 for some reason, so I grouped up with 2 other people and got carried. I then had to kill the leader of the mines, so I quickly moved back there, grouped up with a mage who was AoE farming and took him down. I then received my final mission, to travel to Dungarok and kill the dwarf leader. This is a barracks full of elite ankle bashers. But that's for the next episode, where I'll be achieving one of my lifelong dreams. Wow, you really need to get a fucking life.